Alright, so last video I made a demonstration on how to go ahead and add a database to a project. Now let's do something with that database. You can see here that I just have a basic program right now. This is just going to be a console application to kind of read and write some data and information. So here's our database, and I need to actually show that we have it here. And you can see that, I'll minimize this, we have our database here. If you are opening a project and maybe you can't see the connection, you can right click on your data connections here and hit add connection if you know that there's a database that already exists. And you can see that this here went to my project immediately, and I have a name called database, so I just hit open and then it'll automatically pull this up here, and then I'll hit OK and you're ready to rock and roll. And then in this case, I just added a table named person. I have an identity column, which just means we don't do anything with that. That's handled by the database. And we have a name column. This is where we'll be inserting, updating, deleting, and reading information from. So that's kind of a side note for right now. So let's get started with some actual coding. I'm going to right click on our project here. And I'm going to right click and hit add class. And then in our little display here, we're going to go ahead and add a data connector. And there we go. So I'm going to move that over right now. So we need to do one thing. We need to import a namespace called system data client or SQL client. We need to import this because this will give us the class library so that we can use to start making connections and commands and calls to the database. So now let's start making a couple things here. I'm going to make a public SQL connection. I'm also going to make a connection string object here. I'm going to say public string connection string. And you'll see why we have that here in a little bit. And I'll make a SQL command. And we'll start with that. So first things first, let's we we need a way to actually connect to the database here. So I'm going to go to server, and I'm going to click on my data connections here. So now I have this pulled up. Move this over. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my database. I'm going to right click it here, and I'm going to go properties, and you can see on my properties window here that I have something called connection string, and it has this long string here. That's the connection string. So I'm going to hit select all. I'm going to copy that because that's the connection string to the database. And I'm actually going to set our connection string object to that. So I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to do double quotes and just paste it right in between there. And I might need to do a couple things here. You can use your absolute sign here, or you can start manually editing it here. I'm going to manually edit my string here really quick. So I need to, anywhere there's a forward slash, you need to put 2 of those. So actually what you can do with this is you can select this whole string and hit Control H. This fancy little window will come up. Type the forward slash there and hit replace with 2 forward slashes, and then hit the replace all. You'll say 10 occurrences happened, and that's pretty nifty because now that'll take care of those. Now anytime there's a quote right here, let's put a forward slash there. And there's another quote here, so we need to put another forward slash. Okay, and then it has our connection timeout equals 30. Okay, so that should handle that. So now we have the SQL connection. So we're going to, in our constructor here, let's go ahead and initialize some of this stuff. Let's say connection equals new SQL connection. And we're going to pass our connection string in there because that's one of the options. And then let's create a command, and we're going to say is equal to connection.create command. And now let's just make a simple select statement for right now. So we're going to say command.setText that command text is equal to select all from persons, right? That's going to be our, oh yeah, you know what, the select won't work. We're going to do insert into persons, if I can type today, values, and we'll say, now you need to do the single quotes here, so values will equal Tim, and that's something that we'll insert into there, okay? Because right now if we look at our table, we have person, not persons, we have name column here, so name, we need to insert to the person name. So there we go. So then we want to say command dot command type is equal to, and this little prompt will come up here, system.data command type dot text. Alright, so, and then I'm going to make a method here, and I'm going to say execute. And we'll leave it at that for right now. So, now in our execute here, we have our, or in our constructor, sorry, we have our basic initial conditions here that we need. We need to build a connection object, and then we need to build a command object. So now let's go ahead and run it. So we're just going to say using connection, and the reason you do a using like this is for security reasons and for memory collection reasons, because the using connection means that means that you must pass something in here that's disposable. That's what .NET calls it, and essentially it needs to be able to be disposable. I already said that, sorry. And then once it reaches this bracket here, it will automatically close your connection and deconstruct this object, which is great because then you don't have to worry about it disposing it itself or the garbage collection maybe not collecting it at the right time. So now we're going to say connection dot open. That's going to open our database connection. If you don't do this, you'll get an SQL error, and it'll tell you that the database state is currently closed. You'll need to open it. And then you'll say command not execute non-query. And execute non-query means that we're executing a statement that is not querying the database. In this case, we're not querying anything in the database, meaning that we're not returning any values. We're just doing like an insert or update or something like that, or delete. Those are executables in this case. So, and then that's really all there is going to be to it. So I'm going to go ahead and build this project. Okay, and then let's go over to our program here. I'm just going to make a public static data connector. D equals new data connector. And then let's go ahead and call this. So let's go to D dot execute. And that's all there's going to be to it. Okay. And I'm going to build a project again and make sure it all runs. I'm going to hit start without debugging. Okay, it successfully ran. Now let's go take a look at our Server Explorer and see what happened here. I'm going to pin this here. And I'm going to hit refresh this connection so it opens it. And table, let's right click on our table here and let's say show table data. And you can see that it inserted the name Tim, which is pretty cool, right? So we made a insert into our database just with our data connector here. And now maybe we want to do something a little bit more dynamic that allows us to insert different types of names. So in this case, let's cut this out here. And then in our execute, let's pass a string called name. Okay. And now, when we execute this, let's set the command text equal to name. Okay. And we'll set it that way. And now we have an insert person name, values, name, and if you really want, you could put a single quotes around this right here, and that would tell it that's a string. Maybe we'll do that for safety reasons here. And now let's go back to our program, and you can see that now we need to add a parameter. So I'm going to add a name, and it's going to be Steve. Alright, so let's rebuild our project. And then let's go ahead and start without debugging. Control F5. And I guess I should put some output or something on here, but it successfully ran. No errors were caught, so let's refresh our database again. And let's go look at our table data. And right up here you can see that there's a refresh button. If you didn't close this out, let's just hit refresh. And now we have another insert. So pretty sweet. And then maybe I'll make another project here on how to do a read and update. So that concludes this video.